June. It's clear the coronavirus pandemic is far from over. Worldwide, the number of total confirmed coronavirus cases is now nearing a grim milestone of 10 million, with almost 500,000 people dead. And here in the United States, the total number of confirmed cases just surpassed 2.5 million, and more than 125,000 Americans have died from the virus. Reopening plans have been underway for weeks, but now very alarming and dangerous spikes in coronavirus cases are throwing those plans into disarray and painting an extremely grim picture of what could be ahead in the weeks and months. The U.S. reported 45,000 new infections just yesterday. That's a new daily record here in the United States. Over the last week, more than half the country, 32 states, have seen a rise in new cases, and at least 5 states hit new peaks, including Florida, the potential new epicenter of the pandemic here in the United States. The state reporting its highest one-day increase in cases today. Governor Ron DeSantis now forced to pause the state's reopen plans. And Florida is by no means alone. At least 12 states are pausing or rolling back reopening measures. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott desperately trying to reverse course, shutting down bars once again after admitting he reopened them too soon. And out in California, COVID hospitalizations surged by almost 1/3 in the past 2 weeks as ICU rates reach a new high, threatening to overwhelm the state's hospitals. In Arizona, the governor warns the state is now on pause due to the resurgence of the virus. With the warning signs stacking up across the nation, Vice President Mike Pence used the first coronavirus task force briefing in 2 months to paint a different picture.
We have made truly remarkable progress in moving our nation forward. We've all seen the encouraging news as we open up America again. As we stand here today, all 50 states and territories across this country are opening up safely and responsibly. We're in a much stronger place. The truth is, we did slow the spread. We flattened the curve.
All right, let's begin in Florida right now, where today the state reached an alarming milestone, despite what the vice president said yesterday at that briefing. Health officials reporting 9,585 new coronavirus cases in what is now the highest single-day reporting since the start of the pandemic. CNN's Natasha Chen is joining us from Pensacola Beach right now. Natasha, despite these skyrocketing numbers in Florida and elsewhere, where you are in Florida, it still is no statewide mandate to wear a face mask. Tell us more. What's the latest?
Right, Wolf, there is no statewide mandate, but there are local jurisdictions, certain counties, where they've decided to create their own mandate locally. And that includes the Pensacola mayor that has mandated that employees and patrons inside businesses must wear masks. But Pensacola is a different jurisdiction than where I'm standing now. This is Pensacola Beach. And so here, when we walk into restaurants, they are sometimes not wearing masks at all. Certainly the people who are there to frequent the business are not. And we talked to some bar owners as well, because one piece of action that the state has done as of yesterday is shut down the standalone bars. And those bars now are only able to sell to-go drinks. I asked one of the bar owners what he thought about the recent rapid spike in cases. Are you surprised to see the numbers come back up like this?
It's not 100% surprising. I mean, obviously there's a lot more testing going on. The place is flocked with tourists here. So seeing the numbers go up is not a shocker. I mean, some days it is a shocker when you see how many it's gone up by.
I talked to a local resident who told me it is not at all shocking to her that the numbers have gotten to this level across the state. She feels that that the state reopened too early, and that she constantly sees out-of-state license plates coming into town. There are some businesses in this area that have voluntarily scaled back, either closing their dining room inside or canceling large events, canceling live music, things that would draw a large crowd. But as far as we saw on the Pensacola Beach website as of yesterday, the July 4th fireworks are still going on. So locals are a bit concerned that a lot of people are going to come out for that, Wolf.
They certainly are. They should be deeply, deeply concerned with what's going on. Natasha, we'll get back to you. Thank you very much. South Florida, clearly one of the most active COVID areas in Florida. The Miami Mayor, Francis Suarez, is joining us right now. Mayor Suarez, thanks so much for joining us. Anxious to get an update. As you know, the Miami-Dade County Mayor announced that the beaches there will be shutting down for the 4th of July weekend. Bottom line, did Florida simply reopen too quickly?
You know, a lot of people believe that Florida reopened too quickly. I think the other issue is people just didn't behave. Once the reopening occurred, there were some very, very strict rules that people were supposed to adhere to, and they just didn't follow them. I think there was a sentiment that this thing was over, and I think people began congregating quickly in large groups. The social distancing was something that we didn't see happening, and that's what caused us to implement a mask in public rule. You know, the way I look at it is it's no different from wearing your seatbelt when you're driving. You know, it's a prudent thing to do. It's a responsible thing to do when you're driving. It doesn't mean that it's going to save you if there's an accident, but it's definitely going to increase your chances of survival. And so for us, we think it's the prudent thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and we're going to fine you if you don't do it.
Because as officials try to mitigate these very sad rising numbers, we're probably seeing results of actions what taken 2 or 3 weeks ago. It takes time for this virus to go through the process and start showing results. How much worse, Mayor, do you expect it to get where you are specifically in Miami?
We're hoping it doesn't get any worse. You know, the numbers that we've seen, for example, 2 days ago we hit the high water mark of 1,500 cases. That's 3 times higher than what we had, you know, in late March, early April at 500 cases. The state of Florida hit 9,600 cases, which is 7 times greater than their high water mark of 1,300. So, you know, I think, you know, Florida as a state open bars. We never opened bars in the city of Miami, and the fact that we're closing our beaches now and we're requiring masks and we're now considering stiffer penalties for businesses that don't comply with the rules are things that we're hoping are going to help us reverse this horrible trend that we're seeing over the last couple of weeks.
The Florida Governor, Ron DeSantis, has repeatedly refused to issue a statewide order to wear masks. But in Miami, other South Florida communities, local governments like yours, for example, as you correctly point out, are requiring face masks for people out in public. A lot of folks aren't necessarily all that happy with that. I want to play for you how some West Palm Beach residents are reacting to all of this week. Listen to this.
They want to throw God's wonderful breathing system out the door. You're all turning your backs on it.
I really have many question marks about your degrees and what you really know. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't think that you are worthy of your credentials. And I would ask suggestively that you go back to school and get educated.
You disgrace me! You know why? You did not listen to we the people. You made your decision.
I hope every one of you gets voted out who votes for a mask here today. Shame on you for voting for a mask.
We are against not masks, but mandatory masks. We believe that it is our body, our choice.
So what do you think, Mayor? Why is there such strong reaction to something so simple that potentially could save hundreds and thousands of lives in the coming weeks and months, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention?
Yeah, you know, it's hard for me to understand. I mean, frankly, I understand that people don't want their civil liberties infringed on. I understand that people want to make decisions that they think are in their best interest, but the best analogy that I've come up with is we require people to wear seatbelts, and it's something that we enforce. Our police officers can ticket you if you're not wearing a seatbelt. You know, in theory, you should. You know, those same people would argue, well, we shouldn't have to wear a seatbelt, and we should be able to risk our own life. But that just doesn't make sense. And I think it's something that is not difficult to do. You know, all the studies show, like you said, Wolf, the epidemiologists that we talk to, the biostatisticians that we talk to, the experts at the health department that we talk to, all recommend that everyone wear a mask to prevent further spread of the virus. So making it mandatory is no different than making a seatbelt mandatory or not being able to use a cell phone while you're driving. Things that, you know, are easily things that are targeting safety. And I just don't understand what the big deal is.
You mentioned, Mayor, that you're ready to enforce mask wearing with fines in Miami. Tell us about the potential penalties.
So the first instance, it's a warning. The second one is a $50 fine. Third one is $150. Fourth one is a $500. And if you still continue to violate, then you can actually be arrested, and it's a second degree or third degree misdemeanor, punishable up to 60 days in jail. Obviously, we hope it never gets to that. And the truth is that when we implemented a stay-at-home order, the vast majority of Miamians followed the order, and that's why we saw. That we were able to flatten the curve, and that we went from inclining 35 cases per day to declining 14 cases per day. That was the steepest downward slope, and we're hoping to get back there soon.
Mayor Francis Suarez of Miami, good luck to you. Good luck to everyone in Miami. We'll stay in very close touch. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
We're going to get back to the coronavirus coverage here in our special situation room in a moment. We also have some breaking news that we're following. Russian intelligence officers offering cash rewards to the Taliban in Afghanistan to kill American troops. We're going to have details on that. We've got new information. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first. That connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only officially authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
With Armor All, a little bit of this protects you from a lot of that. Armor All, minimum effort, maximum protection.
Let's be honest. Quitting smoking is hard. Like quitting every Monday hard. Quitting feels so big. So try making it smaller, and you'll be surprised at how easily starting small can lead to something big. Start stopping with Nicorette.
Remember how we just get in our cars and drive? It didn't even matter where to. Well, it's time to reclaim the road trip. It might be a while before we'll see America from 35,000 feet, but the view from 6 feet is even better. So let's go see the world's largest ball of string and get boiled peanuts at the standoff exit 3. Come on, America. Let's road trip. And right now, it's even easier to trade up to a Kia with 0% APR for 72 months, plus up to $1,500 trade assist cash.
Looks like they picked the wrong getaway driver.
They'll be paying for this for a long time.
They will, but with accident forgiveness. Allstate won't raise your rates just because of an accident, even if it's your fault.
Cut! Sonny.
So good?
Line. The desert never lies.
Isn't that what I said?
No, you were talking about Allstate and insurance.
I just want
to... Let's try again. Everybody back to flying.
Accident forgiveness from Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
Did you know Prilosec OTC can stop frequent heartburn before it begins? Heartburn happens when stomach acid refluxes into the esophagus. Prilosec OTC uses a unique delayed-release formula that helps it pass through the tough stomach acid. It then works to turn down acid production, blocking heartburn at the source. With just one pill a day, you get 24-hour heartburn protection. Prilosec OTC. One pill a day, 24 hours, zero heartburn.
We've come a long, long way together. I have to praise you like I should.
Well, it's time for wrinkles. Neutrogena Rapid Wrinkle Repair. We've got the retinol that gives you results in 1 week. Not just any retinol, accelerated retinol SA. 1 week. That's all it takes. Neutrogena.
Can I find an investment firm with a truly long-term view that's been through multiple market cycles for over 85 years? With Capital Group, I can. Talk to your financial professional or consultant for investment risks and information.
You hear that? That's your weathered deck crying for help. While you do nothing, it's inviting those geese over for target practice. And now look who's coming to barbecue. Your deck's worst nightmare. Not today. Today, let's stain with the #1 rated semi-transparent stain. Because if you stain your deck today, they can't stain your deck tomorrow. Fair, exclusively at the Home Depot.
Do these moves look familiar? Then you might have a condition called dry mouth. Biotin is clinically proven to soothe and moisturize a dry mouth. Plus, it freshens breath. Biotin, immediate and long-lasting dry mouth symptom relief.
We'll get back to our special coronavirus coverage here in the Situation Room in just a few moments, but there's more breaking news that we are following right now. We're learning more about an alleged Russian plot to kill U.S. troops in Afghanistan by offering cash rewards to the Taliban. Let's go straight to CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh. He's joining us from London. So, Nick, tell our viewers what you're learning.
Startling development here, Wolf, in Afghanistan. A European intelligence official I've spoken to has told me that they think that Russian intelligence officials working for Russian military intelligence offered cash rewards, incentives basically, to Taliban fighters in Afghanistan to kill American or other coalition soldiers. Now, they say they don't really know what the Russian intelligence officer's motivation for this alleged scheme necessarily was, but they are clear that it did result in coalition casualties in their assessment. They don't know the date of those. They weren't specifying the numbers or the nature or the nationality of those casualties, but it is a remarkable accusation to certainly hear. And it begs the question precisely why would Russia do this? In fact, the European intelligence official said to me they were bewildered by why Russia would choose to plot a scheme like this. And Taliban themselves indeed have come forward and denied any involvement, saying they don't need any foreigners to tell them how to run their insurgency. And the Russian embassy in Washington has used the hashtag Blame Russia in its denial here as well. A story first reported by the New York Times. The White House, Wolf, has come forward and not really disputed this claim, what they call the alleged Russian intelligence bounty here, but they have disputed the New York Times claim that President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence were in fact briefed on this alleged Russian plot. They say that was not true, which frankly in itself as a statement raises the question, why wouldn't you tell the President of the United States of something quite as remarkable as this if you had confidence in it? The European intelligence official also specific on one detail with me as well, that the particular part of the Russian GRU, the Russian military intelligence arm that was behind this, is called Unit 29155. Now, they're also accused by European intelligence officials of being behind the attack on the Skripal father and daughter in Salisbury, UK, in early 2018, another prominent tax in Europe. A remarkable twist here, essentially Russia trying to foment the Taliban to attack Americans, something, frankly, the Taliban would do on the best of days, but it comes when the Trump administration is desperate to end the war in Afghanistan. They tried a peace deal. It seems to be faltering. They're planning to withdraw yet more troops from there too. Maybe Russia, its motivation bewildering, frankly, anyone I talk to. Maybe Russia's trying to boost casualties to get the Americans out faster, or maybe there's another game at stake here, but a startling accusation certainly, and this still America's longest war, Wolf.
Just to be precise, the New York Times reporting that the president and other top national security officials were briefed about this alleged Russian plot back in March. The White House press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, denying that, insisting that neither the president nor the vice president were briefed on this. Nick Payton-Walsh doing excellent reporting for us as usual. Thank you very, very much. Coming up, with more than half of the states now seeing rising new coronavirus cases, I'll speak with the former president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. She's standing by live. Lots of questions on all the breaking news. We'll be right back.
From sandy blonde to jet black. When it comes to a great-looking gray-free beard, trust the new Just for Men. The easiest way to put your best face forward. The same great results in just 5 minutes at home. Just for Men mustache and beard. Be the better man you are and look the part.
Send fresh. Send yummy. Send joy. Send your family and friends an irresistible gift from Edible. Now with free delivery.
With Armor All, a little bit of this protects you from a lot of that. Armor All, minimum effort, maximum protection.
The saying holds true. There's no place like home. Your home tells the story of how you choose to live, with the ultimate goal of beautifying your home without sacrificing anything. like trees, for instance. At the AZEK Company, we use millions of pounds of recycled materials to create sustainable, stylish building products that last a long time and require very little upkeep. Because after all, this big blue home we all live on really is like no place else. The AZEK Company, beautifully engineered to last.
What if you could go into the past, back before the fishing line was cast, to see that it was sustainable wild caught, so you can feel good about the fish that you bought? We know the story of all the fish that we've sold, because that's what makes us whole.
Food delivery just got more rewarding. Now that Grubhub gives you rewards when you order. Did you order tacos? Again? Boom, rewarded with a perk like $5 off. Ordering dinner for the family? Voila, rewarded with free delivery and a side of quiet. Grubhub gives you rewards for rewarding yourself with food.
During this crisis, millions of Americans have lost their jobs, leaving many feeling stressed and anxious. And most of us just don't know how to deal with it. But we can try by taking time to look after our minds. Headspace is now free for everyone in America who's lost their job, to help you get back on your feet. Headspace can't fix everything, but it can help you cope with today and whatever tomorrow brings. Be kind to your mind at headspace.com.
The prosecutor investigating the president's friends, fired. 3 inspectors general investigating the Trump administration, fired. Michael Flynn, Roger Stone. The Department of Justice steps in.
Roger Stone has a very good chance of exoneration, in my opinion.
Donald Trump and the law after impeachment.
I'm actually the chief law enforcement officer of the country.
Jake Tapper investigates. CNN special report, Trump and the law, tomorrow at 10.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
President Trump is right. Watch Newsmax TV and bypass the big media. Get the truth about Trump from Mike Huckabee, Herman Cain, Alan Dershowitz, Michelle Malkin, and many more. Newsmax TV is America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in 70 million homes. Watch Newsmax TV, now on Suddenlink, channel 102, or check your cable guide. Newsmax, it's real news for real people.
Many Benjamin Moore retailers remain open, offering delivery or curbside pickup to serve their communities safely.
Itchy skin distracting you? Cortisone 10. Maximum strength itch relief without a prescription. Cortisone 10.
I'm out of clubs.
And try new Cortisone 10 overnight itch relief. Good night itch.
1968, a CNN original series event. Tonight at 10 on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
The number of people here in the United States now counted as having COVID-19 stands at 2.5 million confirmed cases. And as bad as that sounds, and as frightening as this map looks, a brand new CDC survey released today says the true number of cases here in the United States could be up to 24 times greater than reported, meaning the real number of Americans who have had or have coronavirus could be closer to 60 million. I want to bring in Dr. Patrice Harris. She's the former president of the American Medical Association. Gave up that position 2 weeks ago. Dr. Harris, as usual, thank you so much for joining us. Do you think this pandemic is so much worse than any of us suspected? Could it actually be worse by a factor of 10 or even 24?
Well, certainly those numbers and that statement from Dr. Redfield are very sobering, and these numbers are very alarming. And it's not just the increase in testing. We want to make sure we make that clear, because we see the percent positive increasing. We see the number of hospitalizations increasing. And Wolf, as you know, in some areas, ICU capacity is at or near 100%. So it is absolutely appropriate for some jurisdictions to put a pause on loosening restrictions, and in some cases we are going to have to go back to more restrictions. we need to do all that we can to stop the spread of this virus.
We certainly do. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, during the White House coronavirus briefing, admitted some states simply opened way too soon, and now we're seeing the results with higher numbers of cases. I want you to listen to this.
Everything from maybe opening a little bit too early on some to opening at the right time, but not actually following the steps in an orderly fashion, to actually trying to follow the steps in an orderly fashion, but the citizenry did not feel that they wanted to do that for a number of reasons.
Dr. Fauci added it may be time to drop back a few yards to think about the original reopening guidelines. Do you agree? And if you do, what's the remedy right now?
I absolutely agree with Dr. Fauci. You know, we warned, and all public health experts and physicians warned about reopening prematurely, because what is happening today is the very thing that we were worried about. And so, again, it is going to require, again, certainly a pause. We may need to increase restrictions. But, Wolf, the regulations are one thing, individual behavior is another. And it is very frustrating and unfortunate that wearing masks and doing some of these other issues have become so political. It's not political, it's science. And we need everyone to wear masks, watch their distancing, and wash their hands. It really boils down to that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be political if the president simply said what you're saying right now, but he's clearly refusing to do so. Is it too late, doctor, to reverse course?
It is never too late, but clearly we lost time early on. At this point, we need to do all that we can right now. There will be time to do an after-action review. It's never too late to do what we can. We need to make sure we ramp up testing. Dr. Fauci and others talked about a new tactic, that pool testing. So it's not too late, but we have a lot of catching up to do.
The Vice President, Mike Pence, in that same coronavirus task force briefing, said it's encouraging news that half of the new cases are people under the age of 35. Why is the data moving down to younger people? And is that really as encouraging as the Vice President says, since they can easily, even if they're asymptomatic or have limited symptoms, they can easily pass on this virus to their moms and dads, their grandparents, and others they may simply encounter at a bar or any place else?
For me, and I can tell you for the physicians across this country, this is not encouraging news. I think it just, again, confirms that there is no particular age group that is immune, and we are seeing hospitalizations and deaths in those younger still. Certainly we're seeing the worst outcomes in those who are over 65 and over 85. But again, those who are younger end up spreading the virus to their parents and to their grandparents. So I don't see any encouraging news here. But hopefully the news does encourage us to do what we can, do what we know works to limit the spread of the virus.
Dr. Patrice Harris, who until 2 weeks ago was the president of the American Medical Association, she's still on the board. Dr. Harris, thanks for all the really important good work that you do. We're always grateful for having you here in the Situation Room.
Thank you, Wolf. I appreciate it.
Up next, while the president continues to downplay the severity of the coronavirus pandemic, we're now learning of the truly extraordinary measures the White House is taking to try to protect the president. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Over time, you go noseblind to the odors in your home, but others smell this. That's why Febreze Plug has 2 alternating scents, and it eliminates odors for 1,200 hours.
With Armor All, a little bit of this protects you from a lot of that. Armor All, minimum effort, maximum protection.
Can I find an investment firm with a truly long-term view that's been through multiple market cycles for over 85 years? With Capital Group, I can. Talk to your financial professional or consultant for investment risks and information.
Let's be honest, quitting smoking is hard. Like quitting every Monday hard. Quitting feels so big. So try making it smaller, and you'll be surprised at how easily starting small can lead to something big. Start stopping with Nicorette.
You wouldn't do only half of your daily routine, so why treat your mouth any differently? Complete the job with Listerine. Help prevent plaque, early gum disease, bad breath, and kill up to 99.9% of germs. Listerine. Bring out the bold.
We rent this cabin every year.
Yeah, it's perfect for us. Affordable, convenient, just what we need.
Like our wireless service, Consumer Cellular. We get everything we need at a really great price.
Consumer Cellular offers talk, text, and data for as low as $20 a month, and they've received the J.D. Power Award for highest customer service 8 times in a row.
Switching was easy. We even kept our phones and numbers.
And more of our money.
Make the switch to Consumer Cellular. Call, go online, or find us at Target.
Don't bring that mess around here, Evan! Wow!
Don't do it. Don't you dare.
I don't think so!
It's okay, big fella. We're gonna get through this together.
Nice rip, Robbie.
When you bundle home and auto insurance through Progressive, you get more than just a big discount.
I'm gonna need you to leave.
You get relentless protection.
You're doing a great job as the math teacher and band director, as the short order cook and cleaning crew, as the delivery person and chief entertainment officer. But if it's all starting to be a little too much, Care.com can help with babysitters, tutors, housekeepers, and more, so you can finally get some work done. Get the help you need. Care.com.
Look at that scuffed up wall. And staring at you. Embarrassing you in front of your in-laws. Spreading rumors about you at work. That wall is your Everest, but not anymore. Today, let's paint. That wall never knew what hit it. Today, let's paint. Fair. Exclusively at the Home Depot.
The word of Chapter 24. As Jesus was leaving the temple grounds, his disciples pointed out to him the various temple buildings. But he told them, "Do you see all these buildings? I assure you they will be so completely demolished that not one stone will be left on top of another." Later, Jesus sat on the slopes of the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and asked,
"When will all this take place? And will there be any sign ahead of time to signal your return and the end of the world?"
Jesus told them, "Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name saying, 'I am the Messiah.' They will lead many astray, and wars will break out near and far, but don't panic. Yes, these things must come, but the end won't follow immediately. The nations and kingdoms will proclaim war against each other, and there will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this will be only the beginning of the horrors to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because of your allegiance to me. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will lead many people astray. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But those who endure to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world so that all nations will hear it. And then, finally, the end will come. The time will come when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person outside the house must not go inside to pack. A person in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be for pregnant women and for mothers nursing their babies in those days. And pray that your flight will not be in winter or on the Sabbath, for that will be a time of greater horror than anything the world has ever seen or will ever see again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, the entire human race will be destroyed, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. Then if anyone tells you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There he is," don't pay any attention, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great miraculous signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you. So if someone tells you, "Look, the Messiah is out in the desert," don't bother to go and look. Or, "Look, he is hiding here," don't believe it. For as the lightning lights up the entire sky, so it will be when the Son of Man comes. Just as the gathering of vultures shows there is a carcass nearby, so these signs indicate that the end is near. Immediately after those horrible days end, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. And then at last, the sign of the coming of the Son of Man will appear in the heavens, and there will be deep mourning among all the nations of the earth, and they will see the Son of Man arrive on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send forth his angels with the sound of a mighty trumpet blast, and they will gather together his chosen ones from the farthest ends of the earth and heaven. Now learn a lesson from the fig tree. When its buds become tender and its leaves begin to sprout, you know, without being told, that summer is near. Just so, when you see the events I've described beginning to happen, you can know his return is very near, right at the door. I assure you, this generation will not pass from the scene before all these things take place. Heaven and earth will disappear, but my words will remain forever. However, no one knows the day or the hour when these things will happen, not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself. Only the Father knows. When the Son of Man returns, it will be like it was in Noah's day. In those days before the flood, the people were enjoying banquets and parties and weddings right up to the time Noah entered his boat. People didn't realize what was going to happen until the flood came and swept them all away. That is the way it will be when the Son of Man comes. 2 men will be working together in the field. One will be taken, the other left. 2 women will be grinding flour at the mill. One will be taken, the other left. So be prepared, because you don't know what day your Lord is coming. Know this: a homeowner who knew exactly when a burglar was coming would stay alert and not permit the house to be broken into. You also must be ready all the time, for the Son of Man will come when least expected. Who is a faithful, sensible servant to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his household and feeding his family? If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. I assure you the master will put that servant in charge of all he owns. But if the servant is evil and thinks, "My master won't be back for a while," and begins oppressing the other servants, partying and getting drunk, well, the master will return unannounced and unexpected. He will tear the servant apart and banish him with the hypocrites. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Chapter 25. The kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. The 5 who were foolish took no oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all lay down and slept. At midnight, they were roused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming. Come out and welcome him." All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. Then the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was locked. Later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Sir, open the door for us." But he called back, "I don't know you." So stay awake and be prepared, because you do not know the day or hour of my return. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a trip. He called together his servants and gave them money to invest for him while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of gold to one, 2 bags of gold to another, and 1 bag of gold to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities, and then left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of gold began immediately to invest the money, and soon doubled it. The servant with 2 bags of gold also went right to work and doubled the money. But the servant who received the 1 bag of gold dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money for safekeeping. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of gold said, "Sir, you gave me 5 bags of gold to invest, and I have doubled the amount." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Next came the servant who had received the 2 bags of gold with the report, "Sir, you gave me 2 bags of gold to invest, and I have doubled the amount." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the servant with the 1 bag of gold came and said, "Sir, I know you are a hard man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth, and here it is." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. You think I'm a hard man, do you, harvesting crops I didn't plant and gathering crops I didn't cultivate? Well, you should at least have put my money into the bank so I could have some interest. Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of gold. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who are unfaithful, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. But when the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the angels with him, then he will sit upon his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered in his presence, and he will separate them as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will place the sheep at his right hand, and the goats at his left. Then the king will say to those on the right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will tell them, "I assure you, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me." Then the king will turn to those on the left and say, Away with you, you cursed ones, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his demons. For I was hungry, and you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, and you didn't give me anything to drink. I was a stranger, and you didn't invite me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me no clothing. I was sick and in prison, and you didn't visit me. Then they will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and not help you? And he will answer, I assure you, when you refuse to help the least of these my brothers and sisters, you were refusing to help me. And they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous will go into eternal life. Chapter 26. When Jesus had finished saying these things, he said to his disciples, As you know,
I can. Talk to your financial professional or consultant for investment risks and information.
Love. It's what we've always said makes Subaru, Subaru. And right now, love is more important than ever. In response to COVID-19, Subaru and our retailers are donating 50 million meals to Feeding America to help feed those who now need our help. It's all part of our commitment to our communities through Subaru Loves to Help. Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
With Armor All, a little bit of this protects you from a lot of that. Armor All, minimum effort, maximum protection.
Let's be honest. Quitting smoking is hard. Like quitting every Monday hard. Quitting feels so big. So try making it smaller, and you'll be surprised at how easily starting small can lead to something big. Start stopping with Nicorette.
What if you could go into the past, back before the fishing line was cast, to see that it was sustainable wild caught, so you can feel good about the fish that you bought? We know the story of all the fish that we've sold, because that's what makes us whole.
How about new?
No.
No way. Come on, no.
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 No. Only Discover has no annual fee on any card.
You've spent a lot of time at home lately, so start dreaming about a new one with the Redfin app. See all the homes for sale updated every 5 minutes. Find one you like, favorite it, share it, and drop comments right in the app. Then go inside without leaving your couch with a 3D walkthrough. And if you really like one, book a home tour on demand for free with a Redfin agent. Download the Redfin app today.
I'm a performer. Always have been and always will be. Never letting anything get in my way. Not the doubts, distractions, or voice in my head. And certainly not arthritis. New Voltaren provides powerful arthritis pain relief to help me keep moving. And it can help you too. Feel the joy of movement with Voltaren.
The prosecutor investigating the president's friends, fired. 3 inspectors general investigating the Trump administration, fired. Michael Flynn, Roger Stone. The Department of Justice steps in. Donald Trump and the law after impeachment. Tomorrow at 10.
Much more ahead here on Newsmax.
I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news.
That was just fake news.
You are fake news.
Fake news is a real problem. That's why millions turn to Newsmax.
Newsmax is a powerful organization, good organization.
Real news for real people. Honest analysis. Real reporting on the issues that matter most. No bias, no BS. Don't fall for the fake news. Get the facts. Newsmax. Real news for real people.
I was mandated to close March 24th.
Everything had just completely canceled.
To do what I do best, build.
Dance.
I'm gonna do a mural.
Gonna go dig. We're gonna be printing this on color shirts.
A CNN original series event, tonight at 10 on CNN. Closed captioning brought to you by 1-800-PET-MEDS. Call or visit petmeds.com to save big today.
Rely on the experts at 1-800-PET-MEDS for the same medications as the vet, but up to 30% less. With fast free shipping. Visit petmeds.com today.
Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee, offered up a simple message earlier this afternoon. He tweeted, wear a mask, along with a photo showing him wearing one. It's a stark contrast to the message coming from President Trump, who has repeatedly refused to wear a mask publicly during the coronavirus pandemic. And now, as the coronavirus numbers rise nationwide and reopening plans are paused across the country, President Trump's poll numbers are taking a serious hit. Biden has built a solid lead in several national polls, and in the New York Times latest poll, he's ahead in several key states that President Trump carried back in 2016. Our senior political commentator, David Axelrod, is joining us right now. So, David, what do you make of these poll numbers?
Look, Wolf, if you had told me 4 months ago that either candidate of either party was going to be ahead by double digits at this point in the campaign, I would have told you you were crazy. This is a closely divided country. I don't believe there was ever a time in the two races that I was involved in where Barack Obama had a double-digit lead over his opponents. So this is really unusual. The bottom has kind of fallen out on Donald Trump, and a lot of it has to do with the way he's handled the two major crises we've seen, the COVID-19 crisis and then the aftermath of the George Floyd shooting. People are very down on the way he's handled those. His ratings are in the low 30s for those, and it's dragged him down in every other way. You mentioned the three states of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. Those were the states he narrowly won to win the White House in 2016. He is behind, according to the New York Times poll, by double digits in each of those states, losing in Florida, losing in North Carolina, losing in Arizona, a state that Democrats haven't won since 1996. And he's losing groups that he carried 4 years ago, independents, suburban voters by a wide margin, college-educated white voters, and senior citizens, which voters over 65 went to Trump in 2016. They're not now. You have to wonder whether these messages about COVID are hurting him with seniors who are disproportionately vulnerable to that virus. But he's got a serious hole that he's dug, and he appears to be determined to keep on digging on this issue of masks.
But you were a key political advisor to President Obama, helped him win the election twice. There's still several months to go between now and November. Does the president have time to regroup and actually go ahead and win?
Yeah, no, he absolutely does. Look, 4 months ago, we also didn't foresee the crises that we've faced, and there are always intervening events. In the next 4 months, there'll likely be other intervening events, and perhaps he will handle them in a way that helps him come back. But he seems determined, Wolf, to play base politics on all these issues, and that is not working for him right now. On the masks, on the monuments, on his handling of the police issue, he's getting bad marks on these. But he seems determined he thinks that this is the prescription. You excite your base, and the base is enough to win. Well, these polling numbers don't look that way, so he's going to have to make a real change in direction from where he is right now, I think, to come back. I don't think he can keep his foot on the pedal, play base politics, and win the election this way. And one other point I'd make, Joe Biden's a very inconvenient opponent for him because he's not a threatening figure to a lot of those voters that Trump hopes to excite and scare about the Democratic alternative. So he has a lot of work to do if he's going to take Biden down at this point. Biden looks fairly secure in some of these polls.
Yeah, but Biden has faced, as you know, some criticism that he hasn't been visible enough through the crisis. For example, he targeted the president in a speech on Thursday. Do you think he needs to be more aggressive right now?
Well, when this first started, my thought was if the president handled this well, it could be a tremendous boon to his candidacy, and it would be harmful to Biden, who doesn't have an official position, was consigned to his house, and wasn't really able to go out and campaign. As it's turned out, all this exposure for Trump has been really problematic for him. And Biden, by being relatively low-key, has actually benefited because the spotlight has stayed on Trump. Now, eventually, Biden is going to have to be more active because the convention will happen. The fall will demand more of him. But we really don't know how much is going to be possible given the nature of COVID-19 and now this uptick in COVID-19 around the country. So he is in a peculiarly good position for a guy who can't go out and campaign very much, primarily because the president seems intent on damaging himself.
And we do know there will be 3 presidential debates that will be coming up before the election. Obviously, they will be very, very important. David Axelrod, as usual, thanks very much. It's a fact that minorities are being hit much harder by coronavirus than white people. According to statistics for the Centers for Disease Control, if you're a non-Hispanic, black person, Native American, or Alaska Native, you're 5 times likelier to be hospitalized for COVID-19 than a non-Hispanic white person. Hispanic and Latino persons are roughly 4 times likelier to be hospitalized. Ben Jealous is the former president of the NAACP. He's now the president of People for the American Way. Ben, thanks very much for joining us. It's not news, as we all know, that public health emergencies hit racial and ethnic minority populations a lot harder. You're in Baltimore. First of all, what are you seeing in communities of color where you are?
Well, people are devastated. They're devastated because we're dying at a crazy rate. I mean, my peers, black folks 35 to 54, are 10 times more likely to die than their white peers. I talked to a buddy the other day. He lost 5 friends in 1 week. Some of the guys were poor. Some of the guys were rich. One of them died in Trenton. One of them died on Martha's Vineyard. What they all had in common, they were all black men between about 48 and 53. And I talked to a bishop, 16 members of one family dead. And that's what he was. So it's tough. And on top of that, massive joblessness, massive, just pain. I raised $1 million to help folks in Baltimore in this crisis where food boxes, people are driving up, clearly had jobs until, a month or 2 ago, in absolute crisis.
Yeah, it's a serious issue. And since mid-March, more than 45 million Americans have lost their jobs and have formally, officially applied for unemployment, and a disproportionate number of them African Americans and Hispanics. What do you make, Ben, of the Trump administration's efforts right now to invalidate the Affordable Care Act right in the middle of a global pandemic that could put millions more at risk of not being able to afford health insurance?
It is the most morally bankrupt thing I've ever seen a president do. We are in the middle of a pandemic. People across the country are dying, and not just black and brown folks. Let's be clear, we're at a higher rate. But Americans of all colors are dying. And what does he do? He goes to the U.S. Supreme Court and asks them to kill the Affordable Care Act. Now, you flash back to 2016. He said, we will replace it with... That was a promise he had no intention to back up, and now we see it. He's trying to kill the Affordable Care Act, and he literally has nothing to replace it with.
We're also seeing a social justice movement here in America over the past several weeks. A lot of protesters are part of a community that's already at risk. How do you make a historical impact right now while still protecting the most vulnerable in our communities?
I think that when historians look back on this moment, they will call these the COVID era uprisings. When you look at these sorts of uprisings throughout U.S. history, what determines whether or not an act of police brutality turns into a blaze of anger is typically tensions around joblessness, unemployment, and housing. And in this moment, it's about health care as well. And we've got to absolutely deal with transforming public safety, but we must go deeper and deal with the fundamental inequalities in our society. And what the president is trying to do in killing the ACA will only add to that in ways that will devastate 23 million people in our country.
Yeah, and very quickly, before I let you go, Ben, on Friday, as you know, the president signed an executive order to protect monuments, including Confederate monuments here in the United States, and now the Interior Secretary is threatening to withhold funds from state and local governments unless they protect those monuments. What's your reaction to that?
We need folks to do across the country what we did here in Maryland 2 years ago and just take them down. Yeah, these statues stand for slavery and hatred. They are a relic of a failed propaganda campaign, the early part of the 20th century, that was trying to, frankly, paint a new picture about what the South was all about. That movement failed. We don't let that, they tried to influence children's curriculum, and they did for a time, but we stopped that. The only thing that's left from that failed movement is these monuments, and they've got to come down. Now, folks should do it the right way, which is to, go to your mayor, go to your city council, go to your governor and demand it, but they've got to come down.
Ben Jealous joining us. Ben, thank you so much for joining us as usual.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Welcome our viewers here in the United States and around the world. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. This is a special edition of the Situation Room. Despite the focus on reopening economies and trying to return to some semblance of normal life, it's clear the coronavirus pandemic is not abating at all. Globally, the number of confirmed cases nears the very grim milestone of 10 million, with almost 500,000 confirmed dead. More than 125,000 of those fatal cases right here in the United States. In the past week, more than half the country saw cases surge, and more than 45,000 new cases were reported nationwide just on Friday. That's the third consecutive daily high here in the U.S. Florida, perhaps seeing the worst of it, hitting a new peak of 9,585 new cases in just one day, and that's just shy of New York's peak from more than 2 months ago. Out in Texas, the governor admits he reopened bars too quickly and now has reversed course by closing them up once again. Likewise, Arizona's governor announced the state is, quote, on pause. And California may be next. A 32% uptick in coronavirus hospitalizations in the last 2 weeks alone, and a record ICU rate could cause the hospital system in California to simply buckle. In total, get this, at least 12 states have paused or rolled back reopening measures, and we may only be scratching the surface of what's going on. A new CDC survey actually finds the total number of coronavirus infections in the U.S. could be anywhere from 6 to 24 times higher than the officially reported total. Despite the skyrocketing numbers, the vice president offered up a rather sunny version of events at the first coronavirus task force briefing in 2 months. This is what he said yesterday.
We have made truly remarkable progress in moving our nation forward. We've all seen the encouraging news as we open up America again. As we stand here today, all 50 states and territories across this country are opening up safely and responsibly. We're in a much stronger place. The truth is, we did slow the spread. We flattened the curve.
Well, let's go to Florida right now, where today the state reached a rather troubling milestone. Health officials reporting 9,585 new coronavirus cases in what is now the highest single-day reporting since the start of the pandemic. CNN's Natasha Chen is joining us from Pensacola Beach right now. Natasha, as cases skyrocket, despite what the vice president said yesterday, there's mounting pressure for Florida simply to halt its reopening plans. What's the latest? What's happening where you are?
Well, frankly, it looks as if people are just enjoying their time like it's any other summer. And that is after, of course, the state shut down bars, standalone bars, yesterday. So they can no longer sell alcohol on premises or allow people to consume it on premises. They can, however, continue to serve to-go orders for people to consume somewhere else. Restaurants are still operating at 50% capacity around the state. Those with bars bars in them are able to operate those. And so we're seeing a lot of people actually in the restaurants around here. There are attempts to social distance in some cases, but the efforts are pretty futile when you consider how many people are waiting in line for a table. Of course, there is no statewide mask mandate from Governor DeSantis, and I did ask a local bartender here how she would feel if there were. Here's what she said.
It's not unreasonable. You know, the cases are definitely multiplying like crazy. It's not the craziest idea out there. At my other job at a restaurant, I'm required to wear them, so maybe it's different since we're outside.
Yeah. Okay. And Tiffany, do you feel the same?
I do and I don't. I just feel as if everyone should just be safe and keep, being sanitary as much as they can. I'm just not really sure how it would affect us more.
I should note that there are some jurisdictions that are creating mask mandates. In fact, the Pensacola mayor has created a mandate for employees and people who walk into businesses, but that is not applied here on the beach, which is a different jurisdiction. Some businesses have voluntarily scaled back a little bit, canceling large events, canceling live music performances. But so far as we know, the July 4th fireworks here still going on, Wolf.
All right, Natasha Chen in Pensacola Beach for us. Thank you. California continues to be hit with shocking new COVID-19 numbers. As of today, California has more than 206,000 confirmed coronavirus cases. That's almost 6,000 more than the previous day. And now California is looking to roll back reopenings in at least some areas of the state. CNN's Paul Verkaman is joining us right now. So, Paul, get us up to speed on what's happening in California as it's dealing with this latest surge in cases.
Well, Wolf, let's pinpoint one of the hot spots. It's Imperial County. It's along the Mexican border to the southeast. They have a 23% positive test rate right now. They also had to ship out 500 COVID-19 patients from hospitals in Imperial County, a very small county population-wise, to other counties. And overall in the state, though, we should note that the positive test rate is about 5%. Governor Newsom has been stepping out in front, and he's urging everyone in California to keep their foot on the gas and not let a dramatic recurrence of COVID-19 rock the Golden State.
Please, please, practice common sense. Common decency. Protect yourself, but also protect others. In that environment where you're mixing with strangers, or you're in crowds where you can't practice physical distancing, where you're close and proximate with other people, please wear face covering. Please take this pandemic seriously. What more evidence do we need? Turn on your nightly news and let us, again, recommit ourselves to your health and the health of our community, the state, and nation, and the world collectively.
And about that recommitting, Disneyland was scheduled to reopen on the 17th of July. The governor praising Disneyland for now backing off that date, but members of at least one union with about 3,000 hotel workers protested outside Disneyland today. They want to make sure when the park does reopen that many safety measures are put in place, including routine testing. But we should note that Disneyland says it has those measures in place, agreements with other unions, and those measures include both guests and workers wearing masks, as well as fewer people in the park. Stay tuned. We'll hear more from that union rep. That's in the next hour. Back to you, Wolf.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. Paul Verkaman reporting from out in California. From California, let's head over to Texas, another state seeing a stunning spike in numbers. The past 4 days alone have seen more than 5,000 new cases each day, and that's more than 20,000 new cases in Texas since Tuesday, as Texas Governor Greg Abbott issues a new executive order limiting certain businesses and services. And the governor is now admitting that in hindsight, he may have done things differently.
If I could go back and redo anything, it probably would have been to slow down the opening of bars. Now seeing in the aftermath of how quickly the coronavirus spread in the bar setting, and you know how a bar setting in reality just doesn't work with a pandemic.
CNN's Alexandra Field is joining us now from Houston. Alexandra, so what more can you tell us about how Texas is trying to mitigate the surging numbers?
Well, look, they know that the majority of new cases seem to be largely affecting people in their 20s and 30s. That's why you're seeing Governor Greg Abbott go after the bars, shutting those down in order to try to stop the spread among young people. But still, is this too little, too late? That's what some health officials are saying as Texas adds another 5,700 new cases to the total count. Major turnaround in Texas as COVID cases soar. Governor Greg Abbott, one of the first governors to reopen his state, now taking steps to walk it back. Bars must close but can still serve takeout or delivery. There are new restrictions on restaurant capacity and additional limits on outdoor crowds. Houston is now a hot spot. Some local officials want the governor to do more.
There is no evidence out there to show that anything short of a stay-home order will do. We have barely weeks between 10 and 30 days before we hit capacity if we keep going at these rates.
Here in Harris County, the country's third largest county, the